Hello again everyone, the Snowman here, and today I've got another instructional video all about the UEFA Nations League. So we're going to answer a few questions like, what exactly is the UEFA Nations League? What is its purpose? What is the format like? How is the tournament set up in terms of the schedule and fixtures? And also, how does it affect World Cup and Euro qualifying? So what is the UEFA Nations League? It is a biennial international football competition contested by the senior men's national teams of UEFA. So a UEFA Nations League champion is crowned every 2 years, and the 55 European men's teams part of UEFA are the ones playing the football. This event only for European nations. Its inaugural season just took place during 2018 and 2019, so a relatively new tournament. The purpose of this competition mainly meant to replace all the somewhat meaningless European friendlies, and the UEFA Nations League is also linked with qualifying for both the FIFA World Cup and the UEFA European Championship. Those are the two biggest tournaments in international football. We'll get to that later. Let's talk about the format now. I used to think it was convoluted, but it's actually pretty simple when you break it down. There are 55 European countries that are a part of UEFA. Those 55 teams are split up into 4 leagues. 16 nations in League A, 16 in League B, 16 in League C, and just 7 in League D. So within each of those leagues then, we split up the 16 teams into 4 groups of 4 teams each, 4 groups in A, B, and C. League D a little bit different since there's only 7 teams, just 2 groups in League D, one with 4 teams and one with 3. And here's an example of what the groups look like for the 2020-21 UEFA Nations League season. You can see the 16 teams in League A. Those are the best of the best. The creme de la creme countries, 16 in B and C and 7 in D. The setup was slightly different for the first season back in 18-19, where it was 12 teams in A and B, 15 in C, 16 in D. I think the new group format, though, is better because there's more consistency among the better teams. They get to play a few more matches, so that is the format moving forward. And now that we know how the groups are set up, we can talk about the fixtures themselves. Every team is guaranteed at least 6 games each season. Those games are played from September to November in even numbered years, so 2018, 2020, etc. Countries play the other 3 nations in their group twice, once at home and once on the road. Just like the World Cup or the Euros, teams are awarded 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, and 0 for a loss. Then we tally up the points and look at the standings. The 4 group winners from League A will move on to what is called the Nations League Finals. And this phase takes place the following June, so odd-numbered years, obviously, so it doesn't interfere with the World Cup or the Euros. Just 4 teams in the Nations League Finals. I believe one of those 4 teams is selected as the host randomly, and UEFA also conducts a random draw to decide who plays who in the semifinals. Once the matchups are set, we have our 2 semifinal knockout games, 2 winners advancing to the final, and whichever team wins the final is the champion of the UEFA Nations League. And there's just a quick look at the first ever UEFA Nations League knockout bracket. The 4 League A group winners were Portugal, Switzerland, Netherlands, and England. Portugal defeating the Dutch in the final in Porto. But wait, there's more. You might be thinking right now, what are the countries in Leagues B, C, and D fighting for? Well, it's important to note that the countries in each league are not the same from season to season. That's because of the system of promotion and relegation. So pulling back up the leagues and groups for the 2020-21 season, starting with this tournament, all group winners from Leagues B, C, and D will be promoted to the next higher league for the following edition of the UEFA Nations League. Likewise, all teams that finished in last place in their group in Leagues A, B, and C will be relegated to the league below. The exception is with League C. Since League D only has 2 groups, the 4 last place teams in League C have a mini playoff to determine which 2 teams get sent down to League D. But yeah, very similar to the domestic league setup in England with the Premier League, or Spain, Germany, Italy, promotion and relegation. Just know that teams can move up and down amongst these leagues. Finally, we have to talk about how the UEFA Nations League is linked with World Cup and Euro qualifying. If you didn't know, those 2 huge international tournaments take place every 4 years, and depending on how well a country performs in the UEFA Nations League, that could help them qualify for these other events. So for European World Cup qualifying, typically all 55 European nations are split into 10 groups. The 10 group winners automatically qualify for the World Cup. Also, all 10 group runners-up advance to a playoff, along with the 2 best UEFA Nations League group winners who did not finish top 2 in their World Cup qualifying group. So does that make sense? Basically, even if a country completely flops with its World Cup qualifying, it can still be one of those 12 teams advancing to the playoff if it played well in the UEFA Nations Nations League. From there, we split those 12 teams into 3 playoff paths, played in 2 single-match knockout rounds to determine our final 3 European nations heading to the World Cup. And as for the Euros, it's even more straightforward. Since 2016, 24 teams qualify for the European Championships. We get those 24 teams by having 10 qualifying groups again, just like in UEFA World Cup qualifying. From those 10 groups, all group winners and runners-up advance to the Euros. That makes 20 out of 24 slots. Those last 4 Euro spots are determined directly from the UEFA Nations League. We take the 4 best teams from each league who haven't yet qualified for the Euros. They advance to a 4-team playoff for that league using a knockout system with semifinals and a final. Here's an example from Euro 2020 qualifying. None of these 16 teams qualified directly for the tournament, but they performed well enough in the UEFA Nations League to reach the playoff. From here, the final winners will qualify for the Euro main tournament. I think that about covers everything regarding the UEFA Nations League. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. If you want more soccer or football content, please subscribe to the Snowman Sports Media. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Cheers.